This week, we'll be getting a big update about what's going on, ham radio updates, talking about Whisper, so stick around and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hello and welcome to the Ham Radio Guy podcast, where we explore all things amateur radio from gear and gadgets to on-air adventures and everything in between. I'm your host, Marvin, call sign W0MET. I'm here to connect you with the latest tips, tricks, news, and stories to take your ham radio experience to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned operator or a weekend POTA warrior, boy, getting started early, and just getting started, this is the place to be. So grab your coffee, tune up your rig, and let's get on the air because the world of amateur radio is awaiting. Well, I swear, lots of things. I could probably talk a whole episode just about just projects and things that have been going on and you know, field day experiences and all these other things. But I wanted to take a moment first to really talk about, you know, I'm going to call it a podcast announcement. I think it's a, you know, I don't call it a new chapter in listener support either, but you know, I really want to take a moment to share the important update about the future of this podcast and just getting, it's always been 100% community supported. That means all fundings come from you, the listeners, either through Patreon or using Amazon affiliate links that I share, or other companies like Lido or Spec5. And so, you know, up until now, you know, I've really personally covered many of this cost. From the podcast hosting like Podbean and Apple Podcasts, the software and website updates, you know, equipment, things like that. But after some recent pay cuts and financial shifts in my life, I really need to redirect some of those personal funds towards building a more stable financial future. So simply put, I can't keep footing this bill alone. And I mean, the podcast is going to continue on, but it's you can become a little bit more of a challenge. And your support, whether big or small, truly makes a difference and has already helped offset a lot of these costs. So I do appreciate it by all means, and it is important. And the goal is to keep growing this podcast and community, and you know, we'll help you. You know, you'll help me make that possible. I have no doubt. But you know, hitting that subscribe button, either on YouTube or on the Podbean channel, or whatever, Google Podcast or Apple Podcast, whatever. I mean, most people listen to it on Apple Podcasts. That's where my stats are telling me most of that's coming from. And just hit a comment or hit that like button. It really does make a difference. It helps with my algorithm, helps me continue to grow. I'm over 211 YouTube channel subscribers now, which I greatly appreciate, and thank you for all that listen. And you know, last year I had experimented with some Podbean ads. I heard from a couple of you that you prefer the show without them. And to be honest, I kind of agree. Those ads, you know, brought in about $2, which I never saw from Podbean anyway. And I'd rather skip the pennies and keep the show clean and enjoyable for you and have that to be more, a different wavelength to, you know, have the ads come through a different way. So on the YouTube side, you know, again, it's continued to grow and I appreciate, and I'm very humbled by growing that part of the community too. And you've heard me talk about products and vendors I truly believe in. And this is kind of where this is all going. Is like, you know, Dakota Lithium provide me some batteries and I've used them and I truly believe that they are a top-notch battery. And I say that truly not because just they gave them to me as part of my listener support, but I've used them for many different field days, and I've used them for some POTA activation, some little things around the house here. And, they've been really good. But, you know, there's no financial support there. Or companies like Lido or Ham Radio Prep. These are all tools and partners that I've used and trust. And even if there's no official sponsorship from behind them, I try and, you know, give them a little bit of a promo in some of the different segments of the show. You know, if you'd like to support the show and help keep it going strong, just check out my Patreon page or consider using the affiliate links when you're shopping for gear. And if there's, you know, something you want or like, and you want to be able to have an affiliate link for it, send me a comment, send me an email. Let me know. I'm sure I can work out something with them to be able to do that. I mean, I've got anywhere from barbecue to Bouge RV to Lido mounts and Spec 5. And I mean, I've got, a lot of different things out there that you can, try and utilize for, saving yourself some money. And that's what I want to be able to help provide to you guys as listeners. And I really just want to thank you for being part of this journey. And, I couldn't do it without you. So that's the kind of the big announcement there. And I wanted to continue to let you guys know that and just always be forthcoming. The next thing is, field day. For me, it was in my place in Wisconsin. And let me tell you, it was great. I probably one of the first few times I've been able to actually enjoy field day. I was able to, that morning we had a couple of projects and errands. I going around and running around like a chicken with a head cut off that morning, trying to get back to setting up a hex beam for field day. And so my day with field day kind of got started a little late. I was an hour or two late getting started with field day. It started like 1 o'clock and I didn't get in there until like 2 or 3. But we got the hex beam up and running. And I ran a little 705 with my little amplifier, that Neptune amplifier I've done a review on, and you've seen it in the previous episodes. I've talked about it probably. And it was great. And I did, fairly well with it. I was also running a vertical from Diamond Antenna. And, more of a review coming on that very soon, talking about that. And so, it was, I made a little over 200 some contacts, and, primarily most of those are Saturday or early Sunday morning. And, Sunday afternoon, I felt like the band's kind of changed or died off, and maybe some people had quit a little early on field day, but, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I mean, I checked my times. I still had time left on the clock, and I used the World Radio League as my logger, and, I thought that it was very good. It did well overall. A little problem with the cat control, staying connected to the 705. I would lose my connection between that once in a while, but I was logging on my MacBook, but, we'll work through that and figure that one out down the road as well. And I think part of it may have been my control cable. It was a USB-C to USB-C on the 705 there. And because I did the modification on that 705 from the micro USB, because it just makes it easier to carry all my cables being USB-C across the board, even though I still carry a micro USB for whatever else might pop up that, somebody else might need a charger, or I need a cable or whatever for something else. But overall, that little radio worked well. And the hex beam, I mean, I was getting signals like, you're 20 over into, Mississippi. Well, great. So I was pretty pleased with that. And I'm very happy that did well. I do have a couple pictures showing up that I'll be talking about probably on a YouTube video of the hex beam getting put up, but we were able to put that on a 6x6 post with a rotor and, like a 12-foot pipe, I think it was, or something, going up the 6x6 post. Probably should have a little bit more, probably should have dropped the rotor down a little bit more so there's a little bit more support on the post and not so much of the pipe itself, but it's a good heavy-duty aluminum pipe. I've used it as a mast for previous tower builds, so I'll probably be fine with that. But, I do get a little bit of wind up on that hill, so we'll see. I mean, we had a pretty good windstorm come through the other morning, and it was hanging in there just fine. So hopefully it's all good. But if I get back there and it's laying outside, I know something went, south along the way somewhere with a windstorm. But because I don't have any camera visible on that one, so I can't really see that if something does go south on it before I get back there again. But I should be able to have that set up later this week to be able to utilize and remote back into. My brother was still there, and he was going to finish up a little bit of the rotor control, getting that connected to the RT21 from Green Heron. So again, that hex beam, KIO X hex beam, top notch, reasonably priced. Great buy through them to be able to get that and make that work. So fairly easy to set up. Did take a little bit of time. It was very time consuming. I'd say about 2.5 hours it probably took us to put it together. We also had to paint all the fiberglass pieces, the telescoping pieces of the fiberglass rod. It was put together with a lot of like hose clamps and things that you would hold like a cable, screw a cable up into to keep it in place. It was pretty simple setup, honestly, but all the wires came to length, and you wrapped them around through each little loop, and it wasn't bad to put together at all. It was just time consuming and trying to figure it all out exactly. And he had all the parts labeled, all different bags were labeled. It was really pretty good, for directions. It wasn't hard to follow, but there's one or two pieces in there. I had to reread it a couple times just to ensure, but yeah, overall it was good. So that was field day. Prior to that, had my Alaskan cruise that I was on, and we did the Alaskan POTA activation. Don't remember my park number right offhand on that. Yeah, I don't remember what that was. I want to say something 72, but I don't remember what it was. So it doesn't necessarily matter, but it was good. Made, I think, 12 contacts through that using a chameleon vertical. And that was a lot of fun. It was from Ketchikan, and there was the Refuge Bay State Park, I think it was, wildlife refuge area that was right there in the Bay of Ketchikan. And I got a video coming out on that on YouTube. That'll probably be produced out later this week here. I'm actually back in the studio now here in Massachusetts again. I'm actually able to record through good equipment and actually feel like I have something, better to record with than the echoey room that I have in Wisconsin right now. Even though SAM panels did get put up, they're not quite to where I need it to be yet. So we'll get there. So anyway, that is kind of my big project update. Getting field day and Alaskan set up, and try to do an activation at Erie, Pennsylvania yesterday on my way back home. And that was a failure. It was nothing I could do about it, really. Working 100 watts from the truck, had a 5.9 signal into Michigan, and called for about 40 minutes. Spotted myself on the POTA page. Just nothing. I think nobody was either quite awake from Saturday still, or partied a little too hard over the weekend, maybe traveling, weren't at home for the weekend, for the holiday weekend. I don't know what it was. I was really kind of surprised that I didn't hear more hunters out there or another park to park. But seeing the spotting page, there was not much on the POTA app page either for people being activated on Sunday morning. So it could have just been that as well. Well, let's go to an ad here. Dakota Lithium, powering your adventures with batteries built to last. Whether you're heading out for POTA activation, gearing up for field day, or just need reliable power for your ham shack, Dakota Lithium has you covered with twice the power, half the weight, and an amazing 11-year warranty. These batteries are designed to keep you on the air longer. I've been using Dakota Lithiums for my own portable operations, and let me tell you, the performance is unmatched. No more worrying about dead batteries in the middle of an activation, just pure dependable power when you need it. Check them out today at dakotalithium.com and get your experience to the ultimate in portable energy solutions, and be sure to tell them the Ham Radio Guy sent you. Check out my link in the show notes and save 5%. Again, I've used it took those to Alaska with me and had two of them there. And, as my old buddy says, one is none and two is one. So I had two of them with me, didn't necessarily need them, but I did have them with me either way. So it was good, and they worked well. Calling all ham radio operators and enthusiasts. If you're loving the Ham Radio Guy podcast and want to be part of something bigger while unlocking some awesome perks, now's your chance. Join the Ham Radio Guy community over on Patreon. You got the tech level, general level, and extra level, and your support helps the podcast and keep it going strong. So bringing fresh content and growing our amazing ham radio community. So what are you waiting for? Head over to patreon.com, Ham Radio Guy, and join today. And let's keep the air lives alive, one QSO at a time. With that, let's go into a little bit of news. The Federal Communications Commission in the U.S. has received a request from the AST Space Mobile to modify an existing license that would allow it to transmit within the amateur radio 70 centimeter band. Specifically, the company seeks the use of the 430 to 440 megahertz spectrum to perform telemetry and tracking and telecommand between ground stations and a constellation of 243 satellites in low Earth non-geostationary orbit. Based on activity with AMSAT-DL forums, it's been suggested that the AST Space Mobile has interfered with the 70 centimeter amateur bands in the past. Communications Daily reported in 2023 that Germany required AST Space Mobile to shut off operations when in range of the radio of country. The government cited non-compliance with the ITU regulations. AST Space Mobile is building a satellite constellation based on cellular networks that can utilize existing smartphones. The company is based in Midland, Texas, and is publicly traded. That's all my big news I've got for the Amateur Radio Week here, with a news release of June 30th, 2025. Well, with that, let's get into a little bit of some other news here and some information. Today's episode I have brought to you by Alpha Antenna, your go-to source for high-performance portable base antennas. Whether you're into POTA, SOTA, or just need a reliable setup for your home station, Alpha Antenna has you covered with innovative, top-quality products. From lightweight portable systems to rugged all-band solutions, they design antennas built to perform in the real world. I've been impressed with their durability and ease of setup, making them perfect for both beginners and seasoned operators. Support the podcast. Check out their full lineup at alphaantennas.com. And don't forget to use my link in the show notes to let them know the Ham Radio Guy sent you. Upgrade your station today with Alpha Antennas. I know some people were using them for field day, and really good antennas. I've got their Mag Loop. I wish I had their newer one. It's a little bit more smaller, more portable, but it's great for doing digital or sending like a WinLink message when in a hotel room. It's easy to pack along with, and so mine has to kind of go on a tripod, but, you can, it is what it is. It's on the, tripod. I can, carry it around. I have a smaller tripod. It's easy to use, but you can find links in the show notes more about Alpha Antennas. If you have any questions, reach out to me at w0met@thehamradioguy.com. And, with that, let's get into the main topic for the week. Have you ever wondered what whisper mode is all about and what it's good for? If you're not alone, many hams have considered how to use whisper. And what does whisper stand for? WSPR. It's Weak Signal Propagation Reporter, and this could really be used to enhance your station. Today, I'm going to introduce practical applications that will help you answer these questions. Some weak signal beacons like Whisper can be incredibly useful for checking propagation, comparing antennas, and understanding radiation patterns without the need for complex Smith charts. So again, what is Whisper and how does it work? Whisper is a digital mode designed for transmitting and receiving low power signals to study radio propagation. Unlike traditional QSOs, where you exchange reports with other operators, Whisper is automated. When a station transmits in Whisper mode, its signal is received and decoded by other stations worldwide. These receiving stations log and upload the reception data, known as spots, to a central database at whispernet.org. So, that's the basis behind it. And kind of how it goes. Now, the other part is that, any given time, thousands of stations are transmitting and receiving on whisper frequencies. And I think this data is pretty invaluable for helping understand real-time conditions and antenna performance. And I think that's how we get some of our propagational signals and reports from time to time, is to know what can be heard and what cannot be heard across the board. And as time goes on and solar cycle 25, goes down, and, we may be losing some of the excitement of it, that it is now. This might be more important to be able to know how to use Whisper. So we'll get into that in just a minute here, but let's talk more about some practical applications of this and how you can install it and set it up. So, there's quite a few guides out there you can find. I don't need to go back and recreate a video, or I don't need to, give you a 3-page document on how to install it and set it up. But this is really about how, you want to utilize it and why you want to utilize it. So have you ever wondered if your Truly is radiating in the way you expect it to? And Whisper is one of those things that can help you answer that. By running a Whisper test, you can visualize your radiation pattern using online tools like Whisper.live and Whisper.rocks, ROCKS. And these are all, when I say Whisper, it's WSPR .live. It's not the word Whisper spelled out. So just FYI on that too. And even at power levels as low as 200 milliwatts, your signal can reach thousands of miles, providing how well your antenna is functioning. So it really can give you a good answer on your antenna and how well it's performing. Again, what I came back to initially a minute ago, Whisper provides that real-time propagation based on actual signal reports. So I think that's one of the big things that we're going to look to in the lower end of solar cycle 25, and that's what we're going to want to know. And if your signal reaches Europe in the morning but not in the afternoon, you can now deduce how conditions shift throughout the day. And of course, that may be depending on whether you're 20 meters or 40 meters, and it could be very band specific as well. So, but it might help you determine some best times to operate. And of course, you got the gray line shift in there as well along the way. Antenna comparisons. Do you want to know how your dipole versus your vertical is going? If you're raising your antenna by a few feet, does that make a difference, and how well does that get out? So running on two different antennas on Whisper can provide direct data to their effectiveness and how well they're doing. And I've got just exactly that. I've got a vertical in my backyard. I've got a dipole in my backyard. It's an off center fed. So I'm going to try this myself. I've not had a chance to do it, being gone for the last literally 6 weeks. So as I've been trying to work on this and learn a little bit more about Whisper, I didn't know a lot about it myself prior to this. And so rather than relying on subjective signal reports, which, if someone, you talk to someone in Michigan, you get a 5.9, that's based on their opinion or their thought of what you're getting. But you might be able to, find out a little bit more accuracy by using Whisper. And I think it gives a more clear data-driven result than something like a subjective report from somebody in Mississippi or Michigan or anywhere else, Georgia. So now this kind of tells you what Whisper can do, but how do you get started with Whisper? And if you're using a transceiver, whether that's ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu, whatever, Flex, software like WSJTX can make it easy to transmit and receive Whisper signals. It's one of the modes that's within WSJTX. And you could also use other programs, Whisper transmitters like those from Zactec or QRP Labs. They're great for running tests without tying up your main rig. But, you don't need to throw out, 1,500 watts or 800 watts. Typically, you can keep your power low. And, I would say 5 watts or less is probably ideal. Maybe 10 watts or less is ideal to get those reports. And you could maybe test it to see, what the difference is between, 5 watts and, 50 watts of throwing it out there. But check whispernet.org or whisper.live to analyze your spots and learn more about your station's performance. So I think that can be a lot. So, I'm going to be, talking to you again, what is Whisper and what it's used for and how to set up the software here a little bit. And we're going to go through a little bit of this setup. So I'll try and explain to you how you can go through using a program like WSJTX. And again, as I mentioned a minute ago, Whisper does stand for the Weak Signal Propagation Reporter. And it's a mode within WSJTX, also known as, a program developed by Joe Taylor, K1JT. It was released in 2008, and it's not a show about WSJTX here, but it's been around for a while. Is where I'm going with that and why. And it's one of the earlier modes that was available in WSJTX originally, and it used to be a standalone mode, but they've been able to you could download it, and now you can do it right within WSJTX. And I think most people by now have probably downloaded WSJTX. And there's some that still do CW, or some are just voice and they don't get in a digital side. But if you haven't, maybe it's one of those challenges for 2025 that you want to, maybe look at doing, and something I want to be able to do a little bit more myself. And so now that it's all incorporating WSJTX, it's basically it's a beacon software that you can send a beacon from your station as a transmission, and it's received by other stations, and then they report it to the internet, so you can view it on a map and also view the data in a database. So it's handy if finding a propagation. If the band's open on HF, or if you want to test an antenna, perhaps you can leave your beacon running and then see who receives you. And again, I've started trying to use this a little bit over the last few days, and trying to learn this a little bit, and looking for like propagation on 20 or 6 meters, and you can test different antennas with it. So who's hearing you on those different bands of whether it's 10, 15, 20 or 6 meters. And if you have a new antenna, I think this is a really great thing to be able to utilize for a new antenna to see how well you might be getting heard. Utilizing a new antenna, how good is it doing for you? And it might affect obviously how propagation is going as well. But let me know in the comments if you've used WSJTX for using Whisper within WSJTX to try this out. And I hope that if you haven't, then try it and figure it out and go, man, really, thanks for letting me know about this. This is cool. A lot of people just expect WSJTX to be FT4, FT8, probably more times FT8 more than not. And I'm not sure really how many more other modes are used within WSJTX. So, but I didn't know that Whisper really was contained within WSJTX prior to me downloading and trying to figure out more information about Whisper myself. Now, if you've already got WSJTX 2.6 set up and you're running in the Whisper mode, you can just go in and choose that from the selection menu. And if you want to set up your radio, of course, in the file and settings menu, depending on what actual radio you have for WSJTX. So check those out. You can find those out, how to set that up specific for your radio with WSJTX. There's plenty of videos out there for whether it's an ICOM 7300, a Yaesu FT-DX10, a Flex radio, whatever you might have. But once it's connected, you'll want to go to the mode button at the top and select Whisper, and then you'll get a window which shows the Whisper view. So that's where you're going to want to start. You want to set the waterfall somewhere between about 14 hertz and 1600 hertz because that is the bandpass filter that Whisper uses as a 200 hertz chunk of spectrum. And this is what I'm going to do. This is what I've set up for my system as well. And you want the waterfall set for Bing pins per pixel, and set that up to about 1200 hertz. And I have an average of like 4. Use the Linrad waterfall if you get a chance to choose that in the menu there, and also set the current now in my spectrum to 0, which is about default. And so I set the spectrum about 20%, and that gives me a nice indication. And you should be able to see if the signal report is strong or not. So there's that. It's again kind of hard to do that through, I guess, a podcast, but it's I think once you see the menu, you understand what I'm talking about in setting those settings. And I'll try and list that out maybe in the show notes down below as well. Again, I'm just getting back from traveling, so I really wasn't into making a video for this part of it, but I want to be able to just at least talk about it a little bit on the podcast here. For transmit, you'll usually want to set up the software. You'll have about 1500 hertz. Somewhere abouts in the waterfall is where you'll actually hear transmit. So by default, 15 hertz is the recommendation to change this. Don't leave it at 1500 hertz because if everyone transmits on 1500 hertz, you're going to hear a lot of clashes and a lot of signals, and you're all going to be setting that same frequency. So, go up maybe 20, 40, go down, 20, 40, somewhere in there. You could, go up to like 1540 or something like that. And, anywhere as long as you're in that pass band. But, the key is not to be outside of that 14 to 1600 hertz pass band. So as long as you just go up a little bit or down a little bit, you'll be just fine. And, again, it's best to stay 20 to 30 hertz away from the edge as well. So don't, forget about that. You still have to worry about that. So, that's no different than being like 15 or 14.347. You're going to be around the edge of, the band at 350. So just go down a little bit. Well, here, let's take a quick break here and we'll come back into the rest of us talking about Whisper.
Looking for top quality cables that you can trust? ABR Industries has you covered. Proudly American built and reliable, ABR Industries delivers premium coax cable and connectors for all your communication needs. Whether you're a ham radio operator, work in broadcast, or manage critical infrastructure, ABR ensures that you are connected when it matters most.
And it has such tremendously different characteristics.
From static to clarity, ABR products. Built tough, built here, built for you. ABR Industries. American built and reliable. Visit abrind.com today and experience the strength of superior connectivity. It's the only coax here in the W0MET Ham Shack. Use code SAVE10 Ham Radio Guy. ABR Industries, where reliability meets performance.
Oh, very good. Yes, ABR Industries is my only cable I carry. In fact, I need to call them today. That does remind me I need to order a couple pieces of jumpers from them. So anyway, welcome back to the Ham Radio Guy. I'm excited to have you listening, and hope you're enjoying this episode about Whisper, and hopefully you're learning a little bit more about it. As always, I'd like to be able to give a quick shout out to Patreon supporters. Again, you make this podcast possible, and be sure to follow us over on social media, on YouTube or on Twitter, either one, for all of my latest updates, exclusive content, and a peek behind the scenes. And, definitely get me over on Patreon and join that as well. So let's talk a little bit more about Whisper here. And there's a little bit more I'm going to go back into about antennas. So before jumping into a comparison here, I want to set some expectations that, that can affect results. And, obviously different types of antennas have distinct radiating patterns, and, your local terrain, your height, your surroundings, can also impact signal behavior, height and polarization, vertical versus horizontal, can influence takeoff angles, propagation conditions, ionic variations, and can also help introduce some variability to that. And are you doing this during the day versus night? Can also, skew some results, especially on some of the lower bands. So, you want to try and control this as much as possible, but you may want to, looking at a day versus night propagation. And obviously, if you're going to try and do 20 meters on the day and then 20 meters at night, you're going to get different results. So just know that going into performing a test and go, well, my antenna is crap. I'm going to go buy a new antenna or something. It may be doing just fine. Just was there a solar cycle sunspot that had just occurred in the day or two prior, and so propagation was really crappy, and bands are just horrible, at the time in which you perform that test. So you want to take some of those things into considerations, and knowing what your terrain is, things like that. If you're down in a valley versus being up on a hill, that can make all the difference in the world. So, just be aware of that. And so, trying to keep those comparisons and controlling as many variables as possible, and running the test long enough to see the trends rather than some anomaly along the way. So just don't, run it for 2 minutes and go, well, this isn't working. So, if you're having problems, maybe reach out. We can discuss it further, or check with your local ham club, something like that. If you're having problems with having somebody that might know a little bit more about it, and just to see where's this going wrong and why you're not able to perform the test. So anyway, one of the common methods to manually switch between antennas and analyze WSPR reception is here's how you can do it. Run WSPR on antenna A. Let's say your transmitter, runs on one antenna for a set period, let's say an hour or more. And then run WSPR on antenna B and switch to your second antenna and run the same test for the same duration for another hour. And then analyze the data, upload your logs to whispernet.org and use tools like whisper.rocks to compare received signals between maybe your horizontal and your vertical, and see how well it did. And, the one thing, again, I mentioned a second ago, and I just want to, if you did it at 2 o'clock and then you did another one test at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the ionosphere is constantly shifting. So, you're going to have to be aware of that. And, maybe you want to run it just for half hour, and try and get everything within the same hour, potentially. There might be something to consider. And for more accurate comparisons, switching in between antennas at short intervals, maybe could be more ideal. Some options could be using a relay controlled switch connector, running 2 simultaneous WSPR transmitters on different antennas, and logging the same time-stamping transmission intervals to ensure data is accurate matched to the correct antenna. So once you get the data, you start running that data and running those tests, and you're going to have to interpret the results and data coming back from that. And some of the things you want to be able to look for is like your signal strength, your dB reports. A higher average signal to noise ratio suggests a better performance. So, you want the higher numbers in there. For sure, you'll get a stronger signal report that you're getting to wherever that signal may have been heard. Geographic reach, which one maybe provide better DX long distance contacts. And then propagation trends, how did your antenna perform under different conditions, such as the gray line propagation? So something to think about. So in my own testing, I'll be comparing a vertical and dipole using WSPR and analyzing spots over, maybe a probably 8-hour period. And I found that, I guess I should say I expect to find that my vertical will probably outperform my dipole, just because I've had such good luck with my dipole across the board. I'm sorry, with my vertical across the board than I have my dipole. My vertical does have a lower noise floor to it, and I've had some really strong performance on it when I've used it. But running this test for me will help me confirm the theoretical strength of each antenna, which I'm not familiar with right now and what that is. So again, I'll be running this test, and I wish I'd kind of got that done before I record this podcast, but I'm already a week late in putting this out. And so I wasn't going to delay my personal test based on this podcast. So I wanted to be able to just go ahead and get this out and get it going. So comparing antennas with WSPR can be a powerful way to optimize your station by careful planning your test, automating where possible, and analyzing the data critically. You can make informed decisions about your setup. And WSPR, I think, is an incredible tool for learning about propagation antenna performance. And yet it's a simple, powerful way to visualize how your station is being heard around the world. So I hope you'll take some time to learn a little bit more about WSPR and utilize it. And that, this is something that, will be a useful tool for you in the future and making it happen. Again, there's lots of videos out there about it. You can set it up and how to install it. Again, using WSJTX, most of us already have that set up and running. So I hope that this is good for you, and that you learned something from this. And again, I always want to add a tool to toolbox. I want to be able to, continue to add, value to your station, and that this podcast can inform you of some of these things that I do that go on that will help you, become a better operator and know more about how your radio works and what it involves. So with that, let's get into, some other information and move on. But that is the topic of Whisper for this week. Well, a big thank you to all the Patreon supporters for making Ham Radio Guy possible. Your contributions help the content coming in and the mics on. If you're looking for all things ham radio, visit patreon.com/the Ham Radio Guy. You'll find exclusive content, product reviews, exciting blog posts, and much more. Stay in the loop by joining the conversation on your favorite podcast platform and following us on Twitter. So, I'm going to switch this up a little bit. I've been doing a lot of Hamfest, and I still got some Hamfest, but we're going to throw this in here as kind of not the new segment of things, but switching it up to content that is maybe more relevant in terms of adding some special event stations and things into the mix besides just Hamfest. You can still check out the AWR Hamfest schedule page for local Hamfest near you. Middle Tennessee HamQuest is July 19th in Lebanon, Tennessee. The SAQ Grimeton was on the air for its 100th anniversary, July 2nd. And I'm sorry, I'm reading that one. That's going to be delayed after the fact. And 13 Colonies special event will be wrapping up today, July 7th. And hopefully you got a chance to work all 13 colonies and maybe even got a clean sweep there. So I hope that you're able to do that. So, well, that's it for this episode of the Ham Radio Guy. And, thanks for tuning in, being part of the conversation. Don't forget to share your thoughts, questions, or stories, or email me or connect with us on Twitter and Patreon. If you enjoy the show, leave a review, share it with fellow ham, and help grow the community. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. And if you enjoy the podcast, please consider supporting us over on Patreon. Your support helps to keep the show running and allows us to keep even more great content coming. And, I really hope that you guys will, continue to leave the review, and it really helped my algorithm along the way. So anyway, until next time, 73 and happy hamming. Keep those antennas high and the signal strong, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Ham Radio Guy. Take care, and 73.